Welcome to Psychic Girls Next Door. We are your hosts, Lily Hibarino
and Shannon Miller. This podcast is for all spirituality enthusiasts and psychics next door to share tools, experiences, and spiritual practices that align with your highest vibrational self.
So in this episode, we will talk about, and I just...
We're talking about protecting your peace.
Yeah, I think I wrote it down like... About what?
You're so peaceful.
And I am very peaceful. And then I just got caught up in my own words.
Yeah, you flew out of your body.
Yeah. So we are talking about protecting your peace, what it means, and how we protect our peace. There you go.
Worth the, we wanted to build up this episode because it's so important.
Oh, I know. And I think there's so much information that just wanted to come through. And I'm like, okay, let's do one thing at a time. There's me talking, my spirit guys want to talk, so it's like a party over here.
Exactly. Even in chaos, you can find peace. And I think this is going to be a really good episode, especially with everything going on. Like, so many planets have been in retrograde. Mercury's currently in retrograde, which makes sense why you might have, thought too much about your own peace over there. But it's going to be an outlet for everyone to just understand, like, you can protect your peace in a chaotic environment, in a chaotic, if your inner realm feels chaotic, it could be because of your outer realm. And if your outer realm is chaotic, you can create a calm, peaceful inner realm. So that is my intention for today's episode.
Yeah, I agree. I mean... Has this year been chaotic or what?
Oh, yeah. It definitely has.
Oh, my goodness. I don't know about you guys, but this year has been intense.
Yes.
There's just so many levels. Transition, shifts, and I don't think this is random. I think this is very intentional. Yeah. That we're all going through this big shift in consciousness because I think it was much needed.
I think so, too. I definitely feel like so much change has happened, like, not only like for us on a personal level, like, things that no longer serve you will leave your life, and that can feel very chaotic, but it can also bring you peace, and which inspired me to kind of bring up this topic today. Like, I recently left my job, and I was laid off, but I was like, you paid me to leave. What a blessing. And it was a really turbulent, chaotic work environment. And I was realizing I attract a lot of those. And it's like, I realized I had this picture in my space of like, I can handle it. Like, I can, I was attracting those types of chaotic environments because I do have the ability to create inner peace for myself and peace for others as well. And I think that is one of the gifts we both have, to provide perspective, to provide another alternative way of looking at a situation, which can provide people like the mental clarity and peace that they need to get through a situation. And I apply a lot of those tools in the workplaces I've worked in. But every workplace I've worked in has been, at least like in startup land in, the Bay Area, has been very chaotic.
Yeah, well, I think it's whatever's going on in the astral plane, it's also like reflected in this physical plane, and it reflects, of course, in our lives. But people would always say, oh, but how do you keep yourself, well, you look peaceful, but sometimes it's not that peaceful.
You might not feel peaceful.
You might not, sometimes there might be this inner turbulence going on, but peace is something that you create. Mm-hmm. It's not something that other can give it to you.
No.
Something that comes from the inside out. That's basically what it is. And I feel that especially with people that are empaths, or you do, you facilitate either healing for others, or you're just someone that likes to serve others too, there is a way that we translate our inner peace to others around us too. So I also believe that our inner peace, it creates like a ripple effect on others that are around us. I probably mentioned in many episodes how I used to work with children. And for me, one of the things is that I remember some mothers would come to me and be like, "Oh, but my child is just so calm when they're with you." And I said, "Well, they match my energy." Of course they are.
Right.
They're calm because I am calm.
Yeah,
and that's how I am on the inside.
You set the tone.
Yeah, I said the energy set the tone, and my energy just translates into that space. But again, it took me a lot of work.
Yeah.
To be in the space, because I think also having this inner peace is also very intentional. You do set an intention to create this peaceful space for yourself. And this is what we're going to talk about too. Like, how do you create this inner peace and how to protect that, right? Because I think that's really important. So basically, just gonna want to go into, I know people, they like definitions too, what it means to protect your space. So basically protecting your peace and your space or your energy even, it just means that you're caring for and then you're safeguarding your physical, mental, emotional, and your spiritual self in ways that you define for yourself, basically. So, and it is a personal journey.
Yes.
I don't think there's going to be right and wrong, and you have to do what works for you.
Yeah.
But you make decisions and you set boundaries for yourself that are in your highest and best interest.
Yeah. And even taking a step back from that, like on positivepsychology.com, peace of mind or inner peace refers to a deliberate state of either psychological or spiritual calmness despite the potential presence of stressors. So in a homeostatic psychological state, which results in optimal functioning of the mind, being at peace is going to obviously bring you like more, clearer thoughts, being able to make a decision without having to feel rushed. I think that's a good example of like when you might not feel that inner peace, if you feel that sense of like time not being on your side. And, like I've been watching a lot of Doctor Who lately. So Time Lords are a thing, like being able to like, feel this constant pressure of like a weight, like an elephant sitting on your chest, because you have to either make a decision in a certain amount of time, or it's like all this internal chaotic static going on, and like coulda, woulda, shoulda, past time information can cause you to go into places of your mind that do not feel peaceful. So anything can really trigger it, but it's a matter of like figuring out how you are going to, one, create your own peace. Like, what does the peace mean for you? And two, like, how to protect that. And like, there can be several ways to do that. One thing that typically works for me is when I am in those chaotic work environments, I like to say, "Oh, I'm the eye of the storm." And in my last job, I got caught up in the hurricane. So it is easy to do when you do not respect your own boundaries, or even know that new situation might be uncomfortable. And if it's uncomfortable, that means you need to create a boundary so that it doesn't happen again. And I think it can be, every situation is a learning opportunity, right? But being able to understand that this is a pattern or behavioral pattern that I do not like experiencing from somebody else, or this is an environment where I don't feel safe, or I don't feel peace, or the chaotic, turbulent nature of it is impacting my own internal peace, that is when you might need to like address like change.
Yeah. Well, boundaries, I think it's a great start. Just learning how to say no.
Oh yeah, that
to
can
things.
Be hard.
Oh, and that is so
hard for me.
hard. I know.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we all go through that. Like, I think that's one of the hardest is learning when to say no, and being able to stand up for yourself. Whether when you're feeling overwhelmed, or you need to ask for help sometimes. and you have to set that boundaries, not only with, because boundaries there for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
It's not for others. You set the boundaries and then the thing of like, well, what if people, they don't respect it? But it's not about others respecting. It's
Right.
about you committing
Yeah.
to keep your boundaries up, because you can't change others.
No.
You can't fix others, nothing. I wish we could, but
Right.
we can't. That's not how life works. The only person that you can change and the only person that you can set boundaries with is within yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And that starts right there. Like for me, it was a huge concept because, years ago, we didn't even know about this thing about boundaries.
Oh,
This
yeah.
concept of boundaries, it's pretty recent that
And
people actually started like
actively
talking,
using it.
actively using
Yeah.
and actually saying, you know what?
Yeah.
This is good for my mental health.
Yeah.
You
like
know,
mainstream society.
yeah, it became way, way more popular and people really owning that term. And I love that. And for me, it was huge, especially as a people pleaser or former people pleaser, where to me, just saying no to others, it was terrifying.
Yeah.
So it took me work to get to the space where I feel comfortable protecting my peace and my energy.
Yeah.
Just by saying no, whether it be to, places, situations, events that I just don't want to go.
Oh, totally.
Or things that I don't want to do. Just because others are doing it doesn't mean I have to do it.
Yeah. And that feels peaceful for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I create myself.
Right. JOMO.
JOMO.
The joy of missing out.
I have JOMO every day.
Oh, totally.
I'm not one of those people that have the FOMO, the
Right.
fear of missing out.
Oh,
That has
totally.
never been me.
No, I'm like, sometimes it's like in my mid 20s, like maybe like, I don't know, 10 years ago, I would be more kind of fall prey to like it wasn't necessarily FOMO, but it was like a lack of how to say no.
Yeah, I think we
yeah.
all go through that, especially in our younger, like when
Yeah.
we're younger.
Yeah.
I've definitely like have been through that, especially through like my teenage years.
Yeah, like herd mentality, or like, oh, everyone's doing it, like maybe I'll try it out.
Yeah, well, you're kind of still
Yeah.
like trying to figure out your own identity. So you kind of have this group mentality that you
Right,
kind of go
right.
with, what everyone else is doing. Like, oh, I have
Right.
to do it too.
Right. And like sometimes like that isn't going to serve you. And I think it's maybe recognizing like, is this going to serve me? And like, that's a good way for you to discern how to make a decision when you are putting your peace first. Like being able to like understand like, okay, I don't know if I need to really do this. Or like for me, I don't know if it's a bad pattern. I don't want to put judgment on it, but like I have a pattern of getting hyper excited in the moment and getting overzealous and committing to this future plan. And then when the day comes, I don't want to do that plan at all. I don't feel like I don't want to. It's not even a personal thing against whoever I'm supposed to hang out with. I just got hyper excited a few days ago, and I feel like I am now in this inner not peaceful place of
You
having
created a mini chaos.
yeah, I created my own internal chaos by overcommitting and in the moment for a future date. And now I recognize like that is my pattern. So like as someone who is trying to change patterns and actively doing the work to change patterns that no longer serve me, how can I in that situation protect my peace and not create such a turbulent internal, dissonance, conflict, like past people pleasing tendencies, like, oh, I'll just do it. I'll just go show up. But then it creates like this internal dissatisfaction with like, I don't want to go, but I already committed to going. And then I am, damned if I do, damned if I don't. But what you can change is your perspective of that. There's a third option. It's learning from, those situations and saying, okay, I need to keep this in mind for next time when somebody's like, hey, let's do this and this. I love the idea. I'll let you know the day of.
Yeah, I think it's really powerful just to recognize the pattern.
Oh, yeah.
I think you just kind of have to validate yourself for that.
Thank you.
But it is awareness.
Yeah.
It's just like noticing where am I creating also the chaos? Because also we also create chaos unconsciously and consciously.
Yeah.
But there's such power in pause. You know, like we were talking about before we start recording this podcast, is about just pause. You don't have to like answer or tell people right away like what your plans are or give them a straight answer. There's always power in just pausing and just saying, you know what, let me get back to you on that.
Yeah. I need to practice that more.
Yeah, let me get back to you. Oh, that sounds great. But I need to kind of look at my calendar and then I'll get back to you and actually get back to the person. You know?
Like follow through.
Yeah, follow through.
Be like, oh, it's not going to work out.
Yeah,
but like,
it's not I'm not available. Kind of stand in your truth, because in many ways you're also honoring yourself.
Right. You're respecting yourself.
You're respecting your needs. Like say, you know, when you mention like, oh, in the day, like I don't feel like going. I mean, you never wanted to go in the first place, probably.
Maybe.
You know?
Yeah. Like, I like the idea in theory. I like the idea in theory, but maybe
the more you kind of sat on the idea, you're like, oh, yeah, no, that's not a good idea. And then, you know, but then listening to yourself in that moment is just like a moment to honor your needs, because your need was like, I don't want to hang out with others. I want to be by myself.
Right.
I want to stay home.
Yeah.
So that is honoring your needs. So I think that also is a way of protecting your energy and protecting your peace. It's just honoring, what do you need?
Right.
What is it that you're feeling? Oh, I'm feeling tired. You know, I want to create this peaceful space for myself. I'm going to take a nap.
Yeah.
And then, you know, you created a space for yourself. Because if you like don't rest and then say go into a situation, then you're tired and you're cranky, and then you might create, you know, something unpleasant or chaotic or whatever.
And I feel like our society is very, at least in the US, like is very into productivity. Like, you know, you have to be doing things. You have to be hanging out with people. You have to be creating and, you know, whatever, doing the dishes, like I'm always running through my to-do list. And
same,
you know, like that sense of like hyper productivity.
Sense of urgency.
Yeah.
Right?
It's like this like false sense of urgency.
Yeah, but like why are we rushing?
Right.
Why
like,
do we have to like check off everything on our to-do list?
Yeah. Like
for who?
For who?
Yeah.
Like what are we rushing around for? And which, you know, urgency and chaos are I call them cousins.
Yeah.
Because it's like that sense of, you know, and also like where's the root of the urgency really coming from? People don't stop to question that enough. Like it'd be one thing if you're working in an ER, absolutely. Like life or death situations, like physically life or death, actual life or death ER. But I would always joke when I was in EA at like a startup, I'm like, oh, we're not working in ER. Like, you know, like the work can get done tomorrow. Like if it's, you know, for a morning meeting, sure, let's stay like a half hour, get it done, like figure it out. But also like that comes back to like, how do you prioritize your time to protect your peace? Because I think that can be like, you know, prioritization and like what you focus on, you will manifest into your life. So like what you're paying attention to, your thoughts, your feelings, all of that goes into their variables of how your peace can be impacted either positively or negatively, right? So like being able to understand like what are your personal variables that impact your personal peace? What are the ones that you can control? What are the ones that you can't control? And then if it's something you can't control, why are you trying to control it?
Yeah, because in reality, you can't.
You can't.
Yeah. And on that same note, I want to say that there might be people listening to us too that might come from very chaotic family environments.
Oh, yeah.
So their definition of peace, it's also varies.
Yeah.
Broadly from my definition of what peace is. Maybe they don't even know what peace looks like.
Right. You're so used to like feeling unsafe.
Yeah, you feel unsafe. You always feel chaotic. So therefore, every situation in your life is chaotic. So that becomes the norm.
Right.
This chaotic environment, you know, whether being job, relationships. But I think, and sometimes it takes either someone from your outside point of view or something that triggers you to look at it under a different perspective. Because a lot of people might say it, oh, if some people might thrive in chaos.
Some people do thrive
Yeah,
in
they
chaos.
thrive in chaos because it's familiar.
They're born in chaos. They know how to navigate
so
that.
So it's familiar, so it feels safe in a way, and that's all they know. So when they maybe, say, for example, a relationship, they meet someone that is not in this chaotic energy, and they're like, oh, this is boring. They would say it's boring because all they've known is chaos.
Right.
In their life. And then when you meet someone that doesn't match that, it doesn't mean that it's boring. It's just it's unfamiliar.
Yeah.
So because it doesn't match what you've always been to. So I think it's always look at it from a perspective of curiosity and just want to explore what that looks like, because it's also this ability to regulate your nervous system.
Yeah, self-soothing.
Because the more you're kind of like in this hyper like state, like you're so like hyper vigilant, like everything, you're always like in this, I always call like, was it a deer caught in the headlight?
Oh yeah, the fight or flight. And like,
so that's like a very heightened state that the body gets to. And oh my God, that just creates a whole plethora of
totally. Fight, flight, or freeze.
Yeah.
And then, for me, I'm more of depends on the day, but I typically tend to be avoidant. So I might freeze because I don't know how to handle those situations. Or like one, at one workplace, someone gave me a massage in front of people. And I was like,
what?
Oh yeah. Like
a shoulder massage?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awkward.
Yeah. And it literally the woman who I worked with, I was standing with a group of people, and the woman who I worked with literally backed up a few feet. She felt so uncomfortable. And I felt uncomfortable. I was like, this person came up from behind me and massaged me. And I'm like, this is so inappropriate. Like,
did you say anything?
Yeah. I I didn't
good.
say anything to the person. I froze up because this was someone who he was one of my executives. And it's like when, they are a person in power, and I've been in HR before where I'm like, I'm going to tell HR, but what good will it really do? Like, this person's going to have a really awkward conversation with that person. And then the person who's going to be impacted at the end of the day is me.
Yeah.
Because, by me setting a boundary with someone in the workplace, which you would think that would be a boundary in general, like a common sense, like just you don't touch people in the workplace.
Yeah, you would think it's common sense, but it's not common sense for a lot of people. Yeah,
no, especially like people who are set in their ways and maybe like 30 years older than you or whatever. So and it like. He's a really nice person too. Like I kind of took myself out of the situation, and I was like, I wasn't offended. I was shocked. I don't really like being touched. I'm about consent culture. Like, did I give you consent to touch me? Did I give you consent to behave in that way? No. Like, and also maybe that's a good thing to question. Like, would I give consent in this situation? If the answer is no, that's a good way to protect your peace.
Yeah, just either saying no or walking away.
Yeah.
If that was an option.
Oh, totally. It was like I was one of it was him and me, and then three other colleagues who witnessed it. And it was like really awkward. And I was giving them like the help me look, like, oh my God, please, like somebody just say something to this man. And no one said anything. We all froze up and just waited for it to like end after a minute of him massaging me. And I was just like, oh my God. And then I told like my other people who I like, at work. Mm-hmm. But it was just like in that moment I froze up because I'm like, I was playing out. If I were to be like, don't touch me, then that would have offended like people, and like that would have made it dramatic.
Or not.
Or yeah, maybe that in my mind, that was like, if I had spoken up, I think if I had really felt truly uncomfortable, I would have like batted him off and like physically defended myself. But I think in the moment I was like, God, when is this going to end? And like, it was just, but it also was me not respecting my own boundaries that I know very well. And my people close to me know very well. Like I will give the appropriate hug. the hello and goodbye hug, but I don't want people sitting smack dab next to me on the couch. I don't, I like creating space for others. And I also like others creating space for me.
And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I
No.
think, we all have our own boundaries as far as like either physical touch or,
totally.
how people talk to us
Right.
and etc. But it is just such an awkward situation where you don't have control over
Right.
what the other person is doing.
Exactly.
Especially at the workspace, and you're just kind of like sitting there because one, you're like the employee,
Right.
and there's just so many things that it's going through your mind,
Like the
wait,
power dynamics involved, the influence. I know
And it's
nothing's
like-
going to be done.
and you're like, well, I'm gonna get fired if I say something, but
Right.
I have the same pattern too. Like if I find myself in situations where I'm either being confronted or there's a conflict, I freeze.
Mm-hmm.
And at least not so much lately, it would be just to avoid also.
Yeah.
Like I would avoid or just, not even going to it and just turn the other way. And
totally.
not being, not being in the space of like
So I
really
acted like it didn't happen.
yeah, we'll talk about it tomorrow and never talk it again. So it's basically just avoiding, the conflict. And I've been like that since I was brought up that way too.
Yeah.
Like you just don't confront people.
Right.
That's just not acceptable. That's how I grew up, and I was punished when I did that.
Right. Because it makes other people feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And other people feel bad.
Because it's always about the others,
Right.
it's the good
Right.
girl, it's that good girl mentality. But I think as we, at this day and time, and I love it, that we are all going through this, this journey of really standing up for ourselves
Oh, yeah.
and not really tolerating, people that are not
Serving us.
Yeah, serving us and
Or
not
respecting us.
or when we feel also empowered to say no
Yeah.
to things, because to me that was not a reality. Even if you had asked me maybe like, I don't know, like 7 years ago, if I would ever say no to things, that would be, oh gosh, never. Can you imagine saying no?
You're obligated. Or
You
like,
have to
show
do it.
up.
Like, it doesn't matter if you don't have money. You have to go, blah, blah, blah. So all this like very pastime narrative. And then today just being in the space when I feel empowered
Yeah.
to say, no, this doesn't align with me. That doesn't resonate with me,
Yeah.
But even for us, like in the space of spirituality, right? We get bombarded with so many different techniques and gurus and all this stuff and frameworks. And, people are into a lot of different stuff, whether it be astrology, tarot, whatever. And there's some stuff that doesn't resonate with me, and I don't feel like I have to dive into every single thing. So I'm going to protect my peace and my space, just like really putting my energy where it resonates.
Yeah.
And that's how I protect myself, because I don't think I need to know everything.
Yeah.
Or
No, that's true.
to be in every single, event
Right.
or workshop or class
totally.
or whatever that is.
Totally. Yeah. And like you find your inner peace in like through learning. I think that's like really like there's some inherent things like for sure that make you feel at peace. Like for me, a shower at the end of the day, clean sheets, on a very physical, like survival home environment type of way. That is so easy for me to create peace at home.
Yeah. Create a physical space.
Yeah.
For peace, lighting a scented candle,
Yeah,
things like that. That definitely creates, a peaceful environment. But also another thing for me that works, it's staying grounded and present. And I know it's hard for a lot of us in this culture of, what's happening next and what are you doing next week or what are your goals for this and that or future, always like future time stuff. So it's just taking a moment just to kind of like look where you're at. You're not in past time, you're not in future time. You're just grounded and present, and that's just like a peaceful state to be in.
that alone can just be very powerful. Just to be sitting in your body, like fully grounded, not feeling like you have to be anywhere or say anything or do anything, just fully present, and then see what comes up. See if there's anything preventing you from doing that.
Yeah. And it feels nice on the body. It just feels so nice. And once you get into that state, you're like, oh, I want more of this.
Mm-hmm.
I want to create more of this. And sometimes I also have to create that space for myself. Like, I like to go for a walk at the beach or at the park. That brings me peace.
Yeah.
You know, because then I can also stay present and I stay grounded in nature. Nature is great for, you know, getting to a peaceful state.
Yeah, if you're not a meditator,
Yes.
walking is basically like physical meditation.
Yeah, it definitely
or
is.
Swimming.
Like, yeah, walking meditation. I think it's great. Even space like where you can just kind of declutter. I think like your mental and emotional state. Whether it be, you know, as we spoke, like walking, being in nature, journaling, through movement.
Perfect for Virgo season that we're all experiencing.
Oh, is that so?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Decluttering, like cleaning out, you know, your spaces, whether that be physical, mental, emotional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the clutter itself to me is chaotic, you know, however that looks like to you, and just getting rid of all that in both physical, emotional, and mental levels, that to me brings a lot of peace. I feel peaceful just thinking about it.
Oh, totally. Like I cleaned out, I had help from Shoka and Brittany. Brittany came over the other day and we cleaned out my closet, and I'm going to, you know, give a lot of it away and hopefully sell it on ThreadUp. But, you know, if it doesn't sell, that's fine. But long story short, I felt like the energy of my room shift because I went through a box of like bills from 1984, not really, but like, you know, like old papers and
that you didn't need
that
anymore.
I didn't know. Like I'm like, do I really need this work agreement from like 5 jobs ago? No, I don't need that. And then I saw that some things that I'm like, oh, I want to just digitalize it and put it on a file on my laptop, and then I can get rid of the actual papers. So there's ways to, like, you know, declutter your space in several different ways.
Yeah, I think that's a good start.
It's a good start.
It's a good start. Start with small steps.
Yeah. And like but really understand, like, what does peace feel like to you, not only in your mind, but in your body?
Yeah. Just be intentional with it. I think that's a good place to start. But I hope that you found this episode helpful. And please share with your friends if you enjoyed it. Leave us a review. We are on social media, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. Follow us. Feel free to send us a message. And thank you so much for being here with us and sharing your energy and time. And we'll see you on our next episode.
Thank you so much from the peaceful Psychic Girls Next Door.